actually, I think what, are we sure? Because I can lift one of these speakers up on the table. Will that help? Or are we okay? We're good. Okay. Well, let me say welcome. My name is Anthony Ettaro. I am a local business person and civic activist, it seems. Got involved with this whole landfill thing about a month and a half ago. Kind of piqued my interest, and in our discussions with the various groups that are fighting landfill development in the various sections of our county, something particular came up that we thought was of vital importance. Everybody kept saying, you know, we have these localized groups. We have these folks over here in Boggs Township, we have folks over here in Rush, up in the border of Center in Clearfield County, and we have the folks down in Chess Township who've been fighting their landfill down there for what, going on 17 years? And you know, you ask people 30 miles away down the road, what do you think of it? And they say, you know, that's not my fight. That's not going to bother me. That's not my concern. Well, I'm not for it. I'm not against it. Well, we're here to tell you tonight that it is going to affect your quality of life. It is going to affect pretty much every facet of your lives, no matter where you live within this region. We're going to hopefully spend at least a good couple hours showing you this evening, if you have your, does anybody have any of the flyers, the agenda? I'm going to go ahead and just move forward with the slideshow here. And what we'll do is we'll start out the evening by going over our agenda, and then we're going to jump right into the background of the problem that we're facing, and what our real reason for showing up here tonight is, which is get you talking, get you asking questions. That's the most important thing. We're not going to present that we have all of the answers, that everything that you're going to be hearing here is gospel. What we're hoping that you're going to do is get involved enough to get out there, get excited enough that you can make a difference in your community, educate yourself, and get motivated to find out the answers to the questions that might be important to you. And this is a great start. So I want to start this out by thanking everybody. Let's give yourselves a great round of applause. Because in all honesty, we had no idea how many people we would get out here this evening. We were thinking, you know, Mr. Lashinsky down here from Boggs, he says, you know, if we get 10 people, that's more than we had before. I said, you know, if we get 80 people, I'm going to be doing jumping jacks. Well, I reserve the right. You politicians, how do you get out of a promise that you make? What do you do? All right, let's get this party going. Hold on a second here. Maybe. There we go. All right, presentation agenda. We're going to start out the evening. I'm going to give you a little bit of it. It's a little out of order because I set the agenda about a week ago, and as I started going through a presentation, kind of decided to go a slightly different route, and one of our speakers wasn't able to come. So the agenda this evening is going to be, I'm going to talk for about 5 or 10 minutes, give you a little bit of a setup, the background of where we're at, to have some slides to show you from the DEP, and some statistics to talk about it as far as what the problem is. Why are we here tonight? Then we're going to bring up a couple of our esteemed representatives from the area. Camille Budd George is going to discuss for you the legislative issues and the mechanisms at work. What is the monster that we're facing? What are we talking about? It's not as simple as waste companies. It's not as simple as the government. There is a big complex web of bureaucracy, big business, and government working together here. And in some cases it's to our benefit, other cases it's not to our benefit. This gentleman has years of experience in this, and he's going to tell us a little bit about it. Then we're going to move on, Representative Dan Sura, who he graciously gave us his time. This is not his district. He came over the mountain tonight. He does touch on Clearfield County over there. But he came over here tonight to enlighten you, because this is a gentleman who went from activist into the political arena, for those of you that don't know, and we'll set Dan up with that a little bit later. He's going to talk about land use activism and his experience as an activist and as a legislator, what works and what doesn't. Then our folks from Pottstown couldn't make it this evening, but what we were able to do is edit down a 15-minute video that they sent me, which I really hope that you folks look at this thing with an open mind, because it should frankly just scare the hell out of you when you see this. And the point that I want to preface all of this, the point to all of this, and what you're going to be hearing a lot tonight, there's some bad things that we're going to be talking about. And I don't want to ever come across as sensationalist as much as I sometimes can be. I heard a chuckle out there, yeah, okay. I want you to understand that there are some serious concerns that are associated with landfill development. And some of the things that you're going to hear, we're not saying to you that they're going to happen here. What we're saying to you is they've happened. It is a possibility of the deal going bad. And we're going to explore some of the things that have happened to other folks around the state, okay? So I'll be making that presentation to you after mine. So talking about tourism and quality of life concerns and what that means to the folks here in Clearfield County, I'll be handling that after our representatives speak. Then we're going to get into the video presentation. That whole portion is going to be about a half hour to 40 minutes between Representative Sura and Representative George. I think that you guys talked about 15 minutes apiece. So there we're getting into about an hour. Then we're going to get into Marianne Williams, who called me last week. She's one of the folks from the Rush Township group who drove all the way from Phillipsburg and up around the Snowshoe area. And I think we have some folks from State College here tonight. She's going to show us a slideshow presentation about the real environmental impacts of what that facility, should it be permitted and go in, how it's going to have a horrible effect on the Moshannon wildlife area, which, you know, as we're getting into with tourism and recreation and environmentalism and all that kind of stuff. You know, I know it's 30, 40 miles away, folks, but we are all interconnected here, and we're going to talk about some of the effects that we can imagine could happen here as well. So she has a traditional slideshow presentation she's going to show us. Then we have some folks from Rush Township. Michael T. Savage, the Snowshoe area. They're fighting their how'd you guys do on the referendum?
We didn't make it.
You didn't make it. Well, we'll talk about that when
we got a lot of people's attention.
When we get you up here. He's going to talk with you about and give you an update on where they are in their process. Then we have Daryl Mashinsky, who's going to update you on our closest to home situation, which is Boggs Township, right out the way toward Wollaston and between here and Housedale. Chess Township, Mr. Carl Michael. This gentleman is a township supervisor and has been slugging away at this for going on 17 years now. I want to commend you guys for all of the work that they've been doing. And I'll tell you why it's important. I'm going to tell you why it's important, because they're not just fighting for them, they're fighting for you. You know, they spend tens of thousands of dollars selling guns and raffle tickets and whatnot, raising money to pay lawyers to keep these cats out of here. And there's reasons why, and we're going to talk about that tonight. So please don't think that this is a localized issue. It's not. It's going to affect every one of us should these deals go through. And then we're going to basically just kind of hang out a little bit. We had a gentleman from Phillipsburg, or from Port Matilda, who was going to come and do a little bit of live music for us tonight. Is he here? No? He didn't make it? Well, maybe he'll show up later. If not, we'll just hang out. We'll ask questions, and we'll talk a little bit, and get it going. So that said, we're going to start out with giving you a little bit of background on the problem that we're facing here in Pennsylvania. Now, why are we here? And what do we want? I can honestly say we have a very broad spectrum of people here. Different socioeconomic groups, probably different religions, different philosophies, different governmental affiliations. We all have a different agenda. Maybe somebody's interested in stopping this thing because they don't want the trucks to go through their backyard. Maybe somebody's a diehard environmentalist and they don't want to have it ruin a watershed. So we all have our different agendas, but there's a common goal, which is we're concerned. That's why we're here tonight. What myself and some of the core group of people that I'm working with at the Citizens Advocate want, specifically, we're going to go down through a list here, where we're hoping to come out. Staunch, organized, and vocal regional resistance to landfill development in our area of the state that is for the purpose of accommodating out-of-state waste of all sorts, including toxic sludge. We're not saying don't build garbage dumps. We're human beings. We're a wasteful culture. You buy things, you use things up, you throw it away. We all understand that you have to have garbage dumps. What we're going to talk to you about tonight is not your local garbage dump, okay? Citizens, government, economic development agencies, and chambers of commerce to work more diligently and passionately to attract clean industry to our region and to utilize more progressive, sustainable models for community, tourism, and economic development. We want to see tourism and outdoor recreation to develop as vital segments of our regional economy, and that we can maintain the direction, the current direction and the focus that we have in this county, which is good, in regards to current environmental cleanup efforts, and to continue to enhance these opportunities that we have before us, because we are, in so many ways, on the right track. For many municipalities in our region, we want to see them develop niche, heritage-based tourism that's taking advantage of the rich history, natural beauty, quaint architecture, and the wonderful people and opportunities that our region's small towns hold. We would like to see regional leadership be more responsible to educate themselves on all of the issues that are surrounding this important topic, and to protect the health of the citizens of this region first and foremost, above any consideration of economic benefits which may be due to regional landfill development. I'm going to say this a lot tonight, folks. We're going to pound this home, and this is just the beginning. Jobs at any cost is not good policy. We need to step up our standards. We need to be able to say we deserve better. And I think we all feel that we do. We're not going to compromise our health. We're not going to compromise our environment for a $15 an hour job. Okay? That's what it comes down to. Now, there are a lot of different mechanisms at play here, and there's a lot of different things that we can do. And we're going to talk about some options down the road in the presentation. For right now, I wanted to make clear what we're looking to do with this type of meeting. So what are the issues that we're facing? Okay, some of the major issues as I started getting involved with this thing that I've uncovered is, first and foremost, we're dealing with a situation where Pennsylvania is, by statistic, the biggest waste importer of all the United States. We import more garbage across borders into our state from other states than any other state, with Virginia being closest behind us, and they still have a hell of a ways to go to catch up to us. I would suggest it's not something that we need to be proud of. We're going to talk about why that has happened in just a few moments, and some of the great moves that DEP and legislation and the legislators are making to curb that trend. We also found that there's a real big issue here, and that, we're rural folks, we don't like big government telling us what to do, so keep zoning out of our area. Don't tell me what I'm going to do with my land. Well, guess what, folks? Without local zoning, there is a big, powerful tool that it's been removed out of your tool chest now that's keeping you from stopping this sort of development in your backyard. So we got to look at a fundamental paradigm shift here. We got to think about a different way of doing things in our area if we're serious about curbing this type of development. Big issue. Clearfield County, on many levels, has pretty decent environment, but I found out something interesting. Clearfield County already has some pretty serious pollution problems of various forms, not the least of which includes ozone or smog, according to EPA standards, and we'll get into that in a little bit too. The waste industry and how these systems work is so vast, it's so complicated, many people are basing their opinions on whether or not they want to have landfill development in their region on hearsay, suppositions, and really just a basic gut level reaction, rather than taking the time to dig in and learn the facts. It's intimidating. And I'll be the first to say, I'm not a stupid man. But I'll tell you what, I jumped into this thing, and man, you start wading through mountains of statistics and paperwork and the EPA and the DEP and the regulations and the law, and you listen to the lawyers, and man, it makes your head hurt. You know? So on some level, you have to rely on your gut, but you also have to get out there and educate yourself and get excited and dig in and learn. Our region's citizens and leadership must be more responsible and become educated on all of the issues that are surrounding this topic in order to make appropriate decisions. That's key, and I want you to remember that as we move forward tonight. All right. Let's take a look at some things here. I think the core issue here is we all want to be healthy and happy, right? I mean, I would suggest that as diverse of our backgrounds are, we all want to be healthy and happy. That's the one thing we have in common. So without getting into particulars, what Rex Reed back here may enjoy as recreation versus Carmichael versus a gentleman like me versus my lovely wife in the back room to the gentleman back here wearing the police officer's uniform. We all have different likes and dislikes. I'm not going to get into specifics because we can talk about that forever. But the bottom basic generalities. What equals health and prosperity? Well, we like to see clean air, clean soil, and clean water. That makes sense. Without them, we die and we get sick. Not a good thing. Cultural and recreational opportunities. Again, we all have our different views as to what those things are, but we would agree that you have to have that within your community in order to be a healthy community. Low crime. I would suggest that we all agree that's a priority. Ability to earn a living wage. We hear jobs, 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 jobs. We need jobs, and we do need jobs. But along with that, we also need proper development that's going to allow us opportunity for growth and advancement. That's vital and that's important. And I would suggest that, am I wrong in that? Wouldn't you suggest those are the 5 things that we all pretty much have in common in regards to building a happy and healthy community? All right, let's take a look at what the problem is. What the problem is as we said, if you look at the statistics here, boy, this goes way back, and I have some notes here that I'm going to jump into every now and then and interject. I did a lot of research and I did a lot of interviews. And most helpful has been, surprisingly, the press secretary for the Department of Environmental Protection. Now, when I first got into this thing, you hear a lot of people in the activist side of things saying the DEP is so much of the problem. I don't know about all that, and I'm not going to sit here and say that they're our saviors, that they're the demons. I'm not going to get into that. This is for you to decide. But I personally found these folks very helpful and really pointed me and opened up my eyes as to how the mechanism works. Basically, what we have here is Pennsylvania, based on PA and DEP data, imported into the states. You can't see it here. The slightly grayed states over there, down in the bottom left-hand corner, those are all the states that Pennsylvania has imported trash in. In 2003, Pennsylvania accepted waste from 28 states, including D.C. plus Puerto Rico and Canada. 94% of these imports were from New Jersey and New York. And in 2005, Pennsylvania brought in a total, or actually disposed of a total of 14.9 million tons of waste within our borders, of which 9.65 million were brought in from out of state, a total of 24.55 million tons. That came from the DEP. Now, interesting, why did this happen? Now, if you notice the trend, there's good news here. If you notice the trend, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, you can see the total waste imports, the pink line, going down. Total waste imports have gone down, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and I imagine Mr. George is going to touch on that this evening.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Solid waste dumped as well has gone down. We still have a problem internally within our state, but this is some of what we're dealing with. I'm going to get into a brief overview of this. Waste importation. Virginia is the second largest. Some statistics here from the DEP. How am I doing on time? I got a few minutes yet. The second largest importer of waste receives 60% of the amount of the out-of-state waste that Pennsylvania receives.
You know where we got class on the other side?
Hold on a second here, I'm getting kind of thrown off. I'm going to move on to the next slide here, not bore you with all these statistics. We're going to look at where the dumps are currently within the state of Pennsylvania. Okay, here's what we have. Municipal solid waste landfills. There's 48 existing and 4 proposed as of this particular map. The one that we're looking at here, and right about here in Boggs and Rush, these are the ones that we're talking about within our region. Right here. Okay? So where are they? Now, one of the things that I found interesting, I wanted to find out, I was hoping to see if there were any trends here in building these things. So I asked the guy at DEP, how many of these are less than 10 years old? I wanted to see if they're building any new landfills and what kind of trends there were. It turns out that there was actually a big push, big regulations that really put the kibosh, if you will, on a lot of out-of-date technology and really made it difficult for new landfill development for a period of time. And that's why we saw most of these things are incredibly old. Very few new fills. A quick check with the waste program indicates, this is from the DEP, that most likely of all the 48 municipal landfills in Pennsylvania, they're all at least a decade old. Tightening of the requirements for landfills made upgrading and operating the facilities more expensive. Only the facilities that had the resources to upgrade and ensure compliance remained in operation even today. Operating a landfill property and ensuring compliance requires a great deal of resources, as we're going to find out. Pennsylvania, the largest source of out-of-state trash in tons. As you can see, can see that okay? New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio. 2003, 2004, 2005 numbers. Pretty much consistent. Slightly going down from those particular states. New York recently, one of the things, you hear a lot of talk on the streets. Oh, they're trucking in trash from New York. New York recently has I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is that I'm looking for, but they're not shipping by a truck. They're pretty much going with rail on this stuff, and we're not accommodating that currently to accept trash via rail. So a lot of what's going to be heading our way should these things go through, it isn't going to be coming from New York City, but it is going to be coming from other large cities outside of our area. One of the things that I found interesting, this is really interesting. Now, all these statistics, what's this mean? One of the things that I noticed, why did imports from out of the state start suddenly decreasing in 2002? As you can see here, you can see the downward trend. So I'm sitting here getting excited. I'm like, oh, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe somebody at the DEP is doing their job and things are going right. And I found out that that's very much true. But then we saw, as my research went on, I asked the DEP, I didn't bring the statistics here, but I asked them to tell me how many, within the past 5 years, how many new permits have been issued for landfill development. I don't have the stats with me, but what I did find, and this is really interesting, permits filed for new landfills and expansions in the calendar year 2006 alone in the state of Pennsylvania totaled more than the years 2001 through 2005 combined. Okay, everybody, woo! And I even asked Michelle, I sent you an email. I said, what'd you think about that? And, the speculation is, well, they're gearing up for something, right? Right? I got a little bit of good news for you tonight. Now, it would not be your first gut reaction, right? And maybe it's possible that that is the case. I don't know. Time will tell. But in looking at the permit numbers and in getting a response from the DEP, I got an interesting take on this. The gentleman from the DEP tells me that out-of-state waste has declined in PA for 4 straight years because of higher tipping fees that our administration has put on these companies, and because of stricter regulations such as the harms versus benefits analysis, which recently, this year, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania upheld as legal and has given us a powerful mechanism to fight these things. You're going to be hearing more about that later. So what the guy at the DEP was telling me is the recent flux of permits that we're seeing coming in is due to the fact that so many of these landfill companies over the past 5 years, while they were challenging the harms versus benefits legislation in court, were withholding their permits. Well, the Supreme Court upheld it, and they figured, might as well move forward with business as usual now, so they went ahead and sent in their permits. That's why we saw this sudden flush. That's what the gentleman from the DEP told me. So, now, we're going to get into our first speaker here this evening. I'm going to do a little segue here by reading you a quote from the gentleman from the DEP. Would you pay attention to this? This is very interesting. If other states, I said to him, if other states have somehow managed to keep it down, well, let me preface this. One of the issues that we hear of is that you can't stop interstate commerce, right? We've heard about that that's part of the problem. Federal laws, Trade Commission says that you can't just say we're going to stop this because it's a business and you can't stop commerce. It's part of the problem that we have with dealing with this industry. Now, here's what's interesting. My question to him was, well, if federally we're not allowed to stop commerce, then why are we so much higher in imports than Ohio or Maryland or Delaware or New York? What are we doing differently that they're not doing that we're allowing so much in? We're all regulated by the same federal bureaucracy, right? He says, yeah. Well, here's his answer. This is kind of interesting. If other states have somehow managed to keep it down over the years, why has out-of-state waste companies come to Pennsylvania to great success over the other states within our region? This is his reply. You probably already know of the market forces. Waste management, because it is commerce, essentially is a business. Gas was cheap at the time, so costs used to be low to ship great distances for disposal. This has been changing. Tipping fees used to be low. That has changed too. Pennsylvania has a municipal solid waste tipping fee of $6.25 per ton. $6.25 per ton. Plus municipalities that host landfills may charge up to $1 per ton as well. That fee used to be 25 cents. Governor Rendell, and I'm not sitting up here stumping for Rendell, all right? Let's make that clear. Although, that's... it's too late now anyway, it doesn't matter. Governor Rendell proposed increasing the fee from $5 to a total of $12.25 per ton, but the GOP-controlled legislature, including many rural legislators who host landfills, defeated that proposal. He's saying to me, I only offer these as another way to show that there's no easy answer. Markets, laws, economics, geography, history, waste regulation is a complicated matrix of issues. Now, to help shed some light on that complicated matrix of issues, we're going to bring up our first speaker,